You're listening to the All Things Geekery podcast. This is episode 5 of season 3, Gotta Collect Them All. I'm your host, Detached.
Hey guys, and I'm Victus.
Welcome back to the show, you guys. I hope everyone has had an amazing week. We have had a little bit of a break because someone had some technical difficulties. I won't name any names or point any fingers, but you're not going to be able to tell if I'm doing that because I'm behind a mic. So with that being said, thank you all for joining in on the latest show. We hope you guys enjoy this episode.
In this episode, we will talk about the upcoming live-action take on Pokemon. Weird, I know. And also the fastest hedgehog on Earth, Sonic. We also talk about some really good news about the upcoming Star Wars games and what it could mean for the success of that actual game. And lastly, we'll talk about some interesting controversy regarding Anthem and how Bioware is handling the situation. So, Detached... I don't know how I felt about our first topic when it was announced, and that was the Pokemon movie.
Well,
I heard it happen. I was like, oh, is this going to be like a super high resolution anime Pokemon that we've been kind of wanting for a while? Not these cheesy, I'm not going to say cheesy, but these other ones that have been, previously. Like actually has a story, doesn't have a lot of that in there. Nope. This is live action.
It is live action, and I was sitting on my couch with my kids, and as soon as they saw the preview, they went, "Oh, it's Pikachu!" Oh, and I love your question on here. It says, "What have they done to my childhood?"
I mean, that was kind of it. I was like, "Oh, all right, oh."
I gotta say it again. Oh, it's Pikachu.
Yeah, you're almost there. You're almost there. It was really a shock to the system, and a lot of people out there had the same effect. Like, what in the world? And this is not a good idea. The first impression, right?
Ryan Reynolds. They got Ryan Reynolds to play Pikachu. What?
Yeah, what?
What?
Yeah, the actual voice of Pikachu is Ryan Reynolds. In first impression, I was like, how is this going to work? How is Deadpool going to play Pikachu?
Right? How do you go from maniac superhero to Pikachu?
Yeah, go Merc with a mouth close. to the yellow road.
It's almost there.
It's almost there. But yeah, I'll be at fan art had already depicted a Pikachu Deadpool crossover because it happened. They've done it.
It did happen
one way or another, or you have Deadpool holding Pikachu somehow. It's already been done. But now you have the voice of Deadpool playing Pikachu.
Well, I think so here's some props. I think one of the cool things is the director of the movie, I think, has some good props behind him. He's made some really good films, some good anime and animated films. Shark Tale, one of my favorites, the latest Goosebumps.
Yeah.
So I think, props to who they got to direct the film. But I don't know, when you take something from our childhood that has spanned how many years now? How old is Pikachu? It's a rhetorical question, really, in my mind, because I remember watching him as a kid, and he's still around. So how do you take such a expansive story and make just a single movie out of it?
Yeah, well, and that's where I think the Pokemon, how they do Pokemon stories is played into their favor, because in every game it's basically a different universe. Really, it's a different iteration of Pokemon. You're maybe at a different island or a different place, but the previous, as far as I know, now I haven't played every single Pokemon, but I've never seen a connection really between them, except for a small group of the games that did connect together of a generation, during a generation of Pokemon. Besides that, each generation of Pokemon, they were different. It was a whole totally different universe. And, this plays into this because they're just picking up with some story in this Pokemon universe. I didn't catch exactly what city or where this actually takes place. Maybe it's in a place that's already been called out in the Pokemon,
To,
universes.
to me, from the trailers, it looks like it's in Japan.
Well,
it looks like. Well, I'm just saying from the live action trailer, the streets and the different things that they show kind of have that feel of Tokyo. If you look at some of the modern Tokyo videos out there, some of the layouts of the way that the trailer looked, it had that feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of calls either maybe that's true, and they just plopped it there, or that calls into some of the art. They kind of stylize some of the Pokemon buildings after Japan itself, because that's where the game's made, so that's where they do a lot of it. Maybe that plays into it, maybe not. Maybe they just go after an actual location, and probably it's also filmed there. But after the initial shock of the first trailer,
there was some shock. There was definitely some shock.
Wow. Watched again and just kept reading about it, and then they released some more trailers, kind of portraying how Ryan Reynolds was going to play Pikachu, and it definitely was still him. But it was definitely still Deadpool, but toned down a bit. Or actually, no, it was just Ryan Reynolds without a mature content filter on his mouth.
Yes, there was a little bit of a. You could definitely tell it was Ryan Reynolds. It didn't have the cartoon Pika voice.
Well, yeah,
you could definitely tell, but it wasn't the Deadpool version of Ryan Reynolds. So.
Right. That they're like, oh no. Some people are like, oh yes, a Deadpool Pikachu or whatever. No, it's to the kids.
It will be okay for the kiddies to go watch.
Yeah, it's definitely for the kiddies. And that's what they're marketing to, because that's what Pokemon's all about.
It's all about the kids.
It's where they make their money.
Yeah.
But listening to him some more and the interaction and some of the story, it's starting to grow on me. It really is. Like, I'm looking forward to it.
I am as well. I will say the CGI that they did for Pokemon, I think Pikachu looks really darn good.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of the other ones that I've seen, though, are actually kind of scary as CGI characters.
Yeah. There's a couple of them. It's like, oh.
They look pretty horrific. My daughter was watching the one of the new trailers that came out for it, and one of her favorite characters came on, and I can't think of his name, but it came onto the screen, and she was like, "Oh, whoa, what is that?"
Yeah, Bulbasaur definitely looks different now.
yeah.
There's a couple of them in there, but like you said, some of them they kept really close. If you really thought about it, it's like, yeah, that's what he'd look like. And then other ones you realize, oh, that's what he would look like. Oh, that's scary. Like the latest trailer shows a Mewtwo in there.
Yeah.
Which, from a person that grew up watching and watched the original Pokemon movie where they introduced Mewtwo, it got me excited. It really did. Albeit how they did the CGI on him was still Mewtwo, but it was kind of terrifying. It really was. When plays into the just how they are, calls back to some fan art I've seen of where they've taken Pokemon and done kind of artistic touches to them to make them look like either A, what they would look like to the artists, in real life, or B, gone beyond that and converted each Pokemon into a horror monster.
I do. The horror monster ones are really funny to look at. Very scary, but funny.
Yes. Yeah. There's I've only seen about 10 of them out there of the different Pokemon. I'm sure there's more if you want to look for it, but yeah, they're pretty intense. Now, I never saw one that was like really scary, but it's going to be interesting to see all the different Pokemon. They've only shown a couple so far. And what is there is really good. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the movie when it comes out. I don't. We'll see what other movies are hitting about the same time. See, well, it's releasing May 10th, so that's after Endgame of Avengers. So we don't have to be fighting against that. But
And
then
that's
again, I may be going for my third or fourth watch of Endgame. I know that's going to happen.
yeah.
So
Well, and I mean, we had a movie podcast that we did just recently and talked about some of the big movies coming out. And I think Pokemon Detective Pikachu is playing it smart. They're releasing after two of the really big Marvel films. So you've got Captain Marvel and then Endgame. So they're not competing, like you said. And I don't remember if there's anything else that is really going to be a big blockbuster that could potentially take away from this. But I think they've done a good job with the marketing. And I think they've probably grabbed the attention of a lot of the kids. It doesn't matter if you've grabbed the attention of the adults. If they've grabbed the attention of the kids, then the kids are going to be like, "Mom, Dad, we got to go watch this."
we got to go watch that. And by default, it's going to happen because it's Pokemon, right? And also, it's also going to grab all of the gamers out there that are really big Pokemon fans.
Oh, for
as
sure.
Well, but for those that can get through the initial shock and actually, like me, let it grow on them, let it know, hey, it's actually looking pretty good. I'm really interested in it. It's going to pull them in as well. They haven't released the numbers on it, so I don't know how well it has to do to cut even or even, go into profit area.
Right. Well,
but
I CGI movies are expensive nowadays. They are.
Yeah.
It's a lot of production time on the back end. So if they don't do well and they had a really big overhead cost, then yeah, they may be in for a bad day.
Maybe. Or they could do very well depending on their placement and the actual turnout and word of mouth afterwards to keep the momentum going. And honestly, I hope they do, because for one, we haven't had a really good Pokemon movie in a while, and let alone we haven't had a live action movie at all.
We've never had a live action Pokemon. We have had some really good cartoon movies of the Pokemon, some good anime. And I've always enjoyed that, but yeah, never a live action. So I hope they do well.
Yeah, it could be another continuation of, we could see maybe every other year Pokemon live action movie if it does well. And that kind of excites me. It really does. I mean, I grew up on Pokemon, watching the TV show, playing the card game, playing the games.
Playing the games. I love the Pokemon card games back in the day.
Yeah, so I mean, there's that nostalgia coming back, of course, but it's tied into all the people that have the merchandise. Hey, let's go now watch the movie of it. All right, let's do it. So I hope it succeeds for that point.
Well, and I think it was a smart move to grab Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. He's a huge fan favorite across a lot of different cultures in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
He's a superhero. He's a comedy guy, so he's funny. He's played dramas. He's an action guy. I mean, he's grabbed a lot of attention. So I think it was a smart move. He's one of my favorite actors. He can play so many different parts, and I'm anxious to see how he plays Pikachu and brings his sense of humor to the movie.
Yeah. Or, I mean, let's be honest, every role he goes into is just a modified Ryan Reynolds.
It is a modified Ryan Reynolds.
I have to really think about it to think about a movie that he is in that is not just a another version of Ryan Reynolds, right? Even whatever version he's in at that point. So we're going to see a Ryan Reynolds in Pikachu form with a mature content filter on it, with a filter on what he says for all the kiddos.
One of my favorite movies that he ever did, it was him and Sandra Bullock, and I cannot think of the name of the movie. But
I know the one you're talking about. I know it. I can't think of the name.
His level of sense of humor in it is, he's such a jerk when he makes the jokes, but it is so funny. There's a scene in there that she's just taking forever to get out of the boat, and he's like, "Congratulations, I've aged a year." It's just that it's so straight faced too when he says it. That's what makes it so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, and people wonders like, oh, what is he playing Pikachu for? We didn't, it could have been somebody else. Well, the question is, who did you think Pikachu was? Like, if Pikachu could talk, right?
Right.
Who could he be? Because honestly, Pikachu was kind of sassy. I'm gonna use that word.
Yeah, absolutely was.
He had his own will. He definitely cared for people, but in like the early, he was a loner in the beginning and his origin to Ash. So
yeah. And dude, when he got angry, oh man.
Yeah, he got angry. So I'm gonna like it. So far, I'm liking it. Like I said, it's growing on me. I look forward to it. I'll probably go see it. I'll take the wife and we'll have a date night come around the 10th, May 10th.
Anxious to see this one for sure.
Yeah.
Now, this next one,
I don't want to talk about it. I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I just like, come on, just people.
So that was a great segment. Thank you for joining in on that. That was a wonderful talk. Appreciate
great talk. Have a good time, guys. We just can't go into the next one. It
is so hard to talk about. It really, really, really is. Like, I just don't have the words to say how awful of an idea this is. Let me say this. When I posted the quick little thumbnail of this episode out on Twitter last week, before we had some technical difficulties and weren't able to get back together to record, posted this out on Instagram and Twitter, and not but 5 minutes after posting this, I had hate mail back in my Twitter inbox about people around Sonic. They're like, I can't believe that you're going to cover and talk about this new Sonic movie. And then I had just the opposite. I had hate mail of, oh, here goes another person that's going to bash the Sonic movie with not even knowing what it's about. And they're just going to bash it because it's what everybody else is doing. There is such a controversy in the gaming community right now over the Sonic film that is coming out. Now, I personally don't know if I want to go watch this. Sonic was one of my favorite games back in the day. I was a huge Sega guy, and Sonic was really, really fun to play, but man, seeing some of this artwork that has come out, looking at him in a CGI form was, ouch. It's been rough. Cringeworthy rough.
Well, and that was their first couple releases of it. Like, they showed the one picture where it showed him kind of like getting ready to run, and people were like, "Oh my god, what is that?"
It looked like a hybrid.
It looked like a furry guy, like
furry demon with red eyes and weird. Yeah, it looked like a mutant little werewolf person thing.
Yeah, and they didn't even like release a trailer for it. They just released a picture.
That was it.
That was it. And it was
no context, no words on the picture, no nothing. It was just a weird freaking looking picture.
Yeah. And people knew what it was. People knew exactly, because you could see his telltale shoes. You could see the outline of the body, and you can tell that's we're getting a CGI Sonic. A live action
CGI Sonic.
Sonic.
To me, not a good idea. And the director that's going to be doing this is brand new to the scene.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of miles under him in regards to movies.
Barely any at all. So that could be a huge detriment. Or he could be an absolute freaking genius and just blow everything out of the water. Though I don't see that happening. I mean, what kind of story could this movie really go into?
Yeah.
A blue hedgehog that saves the world by defeating an evil genius.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the entire Sonic, storyline.
That's the whole storyline right there. I mean, are they going to have tails in it?
and what his tail's going to look like. There's been a lot of artistic touches to what a CGI live action Sonic could look like, and some of them are horrifying.
Sonic CGI version kind of looks like a mutant blue wolf with red eyes. So maybe Tails will be, I don't know. He's a fox in the game. Sonic's supposed to be a hedgehog. Supposed to be a kid's game, but I'm telling you, one of those first pictures that came out was actually kind of terrifying. Look, you got one eye that's got this like red tin to it, and it's like, I'm gonna eat you. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, the first couple pictures definitely showed that. But there was one follow-up I think was released and then maybe taken down where it showed like a breakdown of everything about this movie Sonic and like stats about him, etc. But in that one, it didn't look as bad as that first trailer kind of led to believe. He definitely wasn't the Sonic that his aspects. He definitely had longer legs, longer arms than what we would see in the animated TV shows or the game.
And granted, the anime TV shows that we've seen, they were okay. They were not a Pokemon level or some of the more popular anime shows. So I think with the movie, the gist of everything people are getting right now, the images they've put out haven't been all that good. I don't know. There's just not a good feeling about the movie right now. That doesn't mean it couldn't be good. There's just not a good feeling about it now, and it's really, really early in the game.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we haven't even seen a trailer for it yet. So, like some of the pictures in here, they just, to the Sonic we grew up on, it is not that same Sonic in how they've depicted him. They've definitely given him a more human-like body, human-like features, whereas, in the cartoon Sonic, to be honest, it was basically one eye with two pupils because they didn't separate right in the middle. Well, they
Right.
definitely give him 2 eyes in this one. He didn't have fur on his arms, shorter legs.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it truly was a hedgehog. I mean,
he looked like the cartoon depiction of a hedgehog. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't this giant creature-looking thing. And to me, a couple of the pictures that they've made kind of has this creature-ish feel to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't. They've cast Dr. Eggman with Jim Carrey.
No. Good.
So I don't know how that's going to go.
Jim Carrey has fallen off the bandwagon, bounced down the road, fallen off the train. I do not enjoy Jim Carrey. His heyday as an actor is well past.
We may see. I mean, he could pull off a good Dr. Eggman. Well, I mean, we shall see.
He's crazy enough to do it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got it there. And that's another thing. They need to nail a good Eggman. This doesn't need to be a don't
bring a level of cheese.
Yeah, or make him have the same kind of ideology we had behind the original Eggman, haven't had the same feel. Right. Don't make him different. Really, really allow him to embrace that Eggman that we had in previous versions. They were basically all the same, even if it was a different Sonic universe that we happened to be in. If you're playing the game or watching the TV show, etc., right. It was always the same Eggman and his style, etc.
Right. And just like everything that we have talked about, and this has always been one of my pet peeves. It does not matter what movie they remake from our childhood, they've sucked it up. And this is going to be another one if you ask me, because the foundation has already been laid for the story. The character development has already been made through the games. And I feel, again, all we've seen are pictures, but I just don't have high hopes for one of our childhood video game characters that so many people love, with them coming out with a legit story that keeps to the original foundation of what people fell in love with that little blue hedgehog that ran super fast and you grabbed up. I can still hear the little dings after picking up all the rings, and
Yep.
when you die, all the rings spill out. And people love the sounds, people love the story. They hated the bad guy. They wanted to get rid of him. So I don't know. I really hope that they do a good job with Dr. Eggman. But man, Jim Carrey is so hard to grab a hold of as a bad guy in this movie.
Yeah, like I said, we shall see. And I do think about, we're depicting it just by what Sonic looks like right now.
Correct.
And, like we don't know story.
And
that's
not fair. That's not fair.
It's not. And I do wonder what, like, let's remove our entire what we see as Sonic as anime now. Like,
Right.
let's say if we had been adjusted to just this Sonic,
we wouldn't have the same ideas that we do now, because we would have nothing to preface it on.
Yeah. I mean, you apply that to a lot of different movies out there. Anybody that tries to do an adaptation of something you're already used to, you would expect them to have some of the same characteristics.
Yeah, Transformers.
But maybe Transformers. Good. That's a good call out. That's
that
a
one
good.
I'm still bitter about.
Bumblebee is really good. Bumblebee is
yes.
really, really
Bumblebee
good.
was amazing. I am still frustrated and bitter that they did not bring Unicron, like the real Unicron that we saw in the Transformers movie, into the freaking
the story. Yeah. But unless this movie gets flagged for purely being just a different adaptation, like maybe it actually going to have a good story. Maybe it's going to actually have good, actually be by itself a good movie.
It could be.
It would not be fair to then denounce it because he just looks different.
Yeah, but he looks so weird.
Compared to what we know Sonic, he does. Absolutely. Because we've grown up with that other Sonic. And to be honest, the other Sonic by himself, if you just look at him, then yes. But man. Like,
and there's tons of fans out there. Sonic has a massive following of fans. They really do love the character.
And that's where he's getting a lot of his flack right now, is because of the passion of that character. I mean, we went from a really cartoonish Sonic, which he was definitely not proportionate to himself. He kind of had a round body, a round head, to some of the latest Sonics have had a much more adolescent type look to him. He definitely had that more mature feel to him, not so much cartoony, right. Disproportionate, and maybe this is just pushing it to the next point. We'll see. We'll have a better feeling when that first trailer hits. Not a teaser, but the actual trailer.
I'm anxious to see the actual trailer, see what they're going to do about it. And here's the other thing is, if you look at when they say the movie's going to release, it's at a weird time. I mean,
November 8th.
Yeah, why November 8th? You don't see a lot of cartoon character movies coming out around the Thanksgiving month.
Yeah.
The November months, towards the end of the year. Those are usually like an earlier in the year or even a summertime type movie.
Yeah, with that though, there have been some movies that have released, but they've released later into the month when kids are out of school, or they're really kind of going with a holiday. Because Avatar.
That's true.
Avatar released was
that's
Christmas.
A perfect example. Yeah. That's a perfect example. So maybe there's some smarts behind that.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit too early. I think they're a little bit too early to really get a hold of it, because you're still almost 2 weeks out from Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving break there, and you're way outside of Christmas for sure. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see on that one. If they can really play up the trailers, if they can show some good, really pull in people and make sure that our fears are not actually justified with how they're going to portray either Dr. Eggman or the other character inside the Sonic universe, Sonic himself, whoever. I didn't even check to see who's going to voice him.
Yeah, I didn't
if
either.
it's somebody we know. Maybe they turn things around there, but right now it's just because of how he looks, he's currently getting a bad rep, which that's not fair. It is not.
No.
But some things have died because they didn't stay true to the actual DNA of the content that the movie's working with. So
yeah, anxious to see how that one plays out for sure. Not super hopeful for it though.
Yeah, right now it's not. Hopes are not very high. Could change. Could absolutely change.
Yeah, that one's like a C-list level movie for me right now.
Right now, I agree.
Yeah,
it may be one of those. Like, oh, it's on rent right now on my digital on my at home.
Yeah,
I already watched everything else. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go watch it. Mate, right now that's the feeling. Now, could change. We'll see.
Could change. We'll see. Yeah, for sure.
But on some much better news, at least much more hopeful news, is
well, for these nerds, it's better news.
Yes. For every nerd out there that is desperately wanting a solid follow-up to or another Star Wars RPG story game. And we're getting some we had some hope, and then it was pulled out from under us with Star Wars 1313. Because that was huge hype up. Everybody was excited about that. Looked really good, gritty, story. This one may be doing the same thing. And Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was mentioned. It's been talked about, kind of on the road path. We haven't seen anything about it besides little breadcrumbs here and there. But one, just to talk about though, we do know it takes place between episode 3 and 4,
which I love.
Yeah, which is really cool because it's not at regards to movies,
right?
It's not a fleshed out universe.
It is not, and it's not a filler to help with the movies. This is truly a story of its own in a way.
Yeah, I do think it will be canonical.
Yeah, I think so.
So we'll see some of that. It's gonna be interesting to see where it plays into the canon of Star Wars Rebels, because that takes place between episodes 3 and 4. But that takes place long after the Jedi have basically been eradicated for the most part, and this is supposed to take place immediately after 3.
Yeah, there's a big time expanse in between 3 and 4.
Yeah, 20 some odd years.
20
no,
plus?
not quite there. Luke was just out of his teens, so 16, 17 years.
But still, 16, 17 years, that's a lot of time expanse to have things happen.
Sure.
And like you said, the Fallen Order piece is supposed to be more on the front side where there is still a Jedi Order. There's still that piece of it. The Rebels is definitely towards the latter portion of that. Yeah,
for sure. This takes place at the end. I was thinking Rogue One, but that takes place immediately at
literally
the end of that span. Yeah,
right after.
You get done with that, boom, you're in episode 4. So that's not going to touch that. We'll see how they play into, because we all know how it's going to end, according to the canon so far.
Well, according to the canon, and I do hope they bring the canon in the game. You know me and my story.
Yeah.
You give me a solid story and you got a fan. If you suck it up on the story and there's nothing there to keep me interested, then see ya. Bye.
Yeah.
I ain't playing it.
Yeah, I'm stating worries here about what they could use for storyline there, but then again, we had 2 games that took place at this exact timeline. The Force Unleashed 1 and 2 was Starkiller.
And it was amazing story. Yeah.
It was good story. And also the gameplay itself. Now, people are hoping that this is going to go more the KOTOR route with RPG, dialogue and decisions and, really embrace it, and you get to create your character. We've already confirmed you're going to start out as a Padawan,
right, and you can grow.
And you can grow from there. So, yes, maybe
if they keep this as what people think KOTOR and how good that game was, that was still one of my favorite Star Wars games of all time.
Oh, same here.
If they can keep that MMORPG feel like KOTOR was, and for you Star Wars nerds out there, KOTOR is Knights of the Old Republic, one of the most amazing games ever for Star Wars. Check it out. It's still out there.
Yep.
Definitely look up some videos on it. Lots of canon, lots of lore, lots of amazing story in that game. So if they take that route, then yeah, they're definitely going to have a fan on this side. I will definitely play it.
Yeah. I mean, it was the prequel to what we saw as a gaming standard when you got into the games like Dragon Age.
Yeah, it was big time.
You had the game was really built upon a combat system, and we're talking about KOTOR, so we're getting a little off game here, but it needs to be talked about. Game was built upon a kind of D&D system in combat. You still played it live action, but you had to make decisions about combat, and that's what helped there. Then you also had story behind it, dialogues, voice acting all the time, decisions that would greatly impact you to the end of the game. This may sound familiar of what they've done in like Dragon Ages and Mass Effects with their shooters. This is, of course, being built by Respawn Entertainment, which has so far created Titanfall and Titanfall 2, which people say, those that actually played Titanfall 2 said it was great. A really underrated shooter. Not that it was bad, just not a whole lot of people
it wasn't
got
really
into it.
Received. Yeah, it just wasn't really, it wasn't that it was a bad game. I played it. It was a lot of fun. It didn't really take off. Yeah,
it didn't. I think it had a lot of competition at the time and other things took off. But nobody really said a bad thing about it or had a good solid fact to say a bad thing about it. So they have that on their belt. They have Apex Legends, which hit and is just boom, ground running.
Yeah, Apex is blown up. It's done really well.
Yeah, so it hit the ground running and really dominated out there and still is a contender for top BR. But I do wonder if this is going to be an RPG Star Wars game, if they could pull something off like this.
Yeah.
People said the story in Titanfall was good. Titanfall 1, they were still getting their feet wet with a lot of things. The story wasn't as strong there. The combat was good, of course. I just don't know. I gotta go back and maybe see who is a part of Respawn. Maybe we have some veterans in there. And actually, I know we do. I know for sure we do. I just don't know who that is. See if they can, give some credits to the building of this game.
I do know there's some experience in there. I also know that this specific studio doesn't have any experience with making an RPG game.
Yeah.
And that's worrisome because this is meant to be an RPG game. So this is brand new territory that they're jumping into. And RPG games are a pretty messy realm and they're very tricky. The RPG, well, let's talk about the RPG crowd for just a minute, all right? You're talking analytical thinkers, you're talking strategic players, you're talking extremely competitive realm in the RPG gaming. And that can get pretty messy very quick. And the RPG games, if not done well, can be very discombobulated. The stories don't line up right. The gameplay doesn't function like it's supposed to. The user interfaces could be bad. There's a lot of deterrence in RPG games that players aren't going to grab a hold of this game if it's not done to a level. There are tons of other RPG games out there that are done very well, and those players are going to continue playing those games instead of getting a hold of this if it's not done good.
Yeah, 100% agree. And just while you're talking there, I was doing some research on Respawn, and they are veterans, but they're not veterans of RPG. They're veterans of Infinity Ward, excuse me.
Okay.
So you can, they're creators of Call of Duties.
Yeah.
So they did Call of Duty 1, 2, 4, Modern Warfare. So like the prime of Call of Duty. So when people look back and see Modern Warfare 2, you have the big,
The competitive area.
Yeah, competitive area, first person shooter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not given a good lot of confidence there in their ability to pull off an RPG, but they could do it. They've shown talent to go into a brand new area and show they could execute. And that evidence A of that is Apex Legend. Came out of nowhere and they're like, hey, now albeit yes, it was first person shooter, but it's the BR realm and how they built it. And there's like, boom, here. And was like, whoa, what is this? So,
and I'm not a battle royale. I don't really enjoy the battle royale games, but I do have to say, if you get a squad and play some Apex Legends together and you can actually communicate, it's pretty darn fun.
Yeah, it really is. I haven't played it, but I agree. It looks like a lot of fun. It really does with how they've done the game.
No story. There is no story at all. The only reason I've played is a few of the buddies have jumped in, and it looked really kind of enticing to get in there and play. It's very fast paced. So if you don't like the fast paced realms and the strategy support to support your team members, then you will absolutely hate the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, again, we're talking about a different game than what we're supposed to be talking about, but Apex takes place in the Titanfall universe, so they tied that in there. But yes. One good aspect that is coming to Jedi Fallen Order is who they've brought on as a writer for the game.
Yeah, this is exciting.
And this guy's a veteran. He's got some good achievements. He was one of the writers of KOTOR 2, which people would argue is out of, it was definitely at the next step in the KOTOR. And it's not like one of those where like they released like, what did you do? No, KOTOR was good. KOTOR 2 was really, really good. And then he was a writer for Fallout New Vegas. Probably people would say one of the best story Fallouts of the modern times. People look back at Fallout 1 and 2, but when we transitioned to third person and Fallout New Vegas hit, there's people that still go back and play it and listen to the different story in there. So his name is Chris Avalon. Mm-hmm. They brought him on as a writer for Fallen Order. So that lives credit that at least we're going to get a good story out of Fallen Order when it hits.
Yeah, that piece I am excited about. Like I said, I'm a story guy, so when veterans like Chris come on to write a new story around especially a Star Wars game, that excites me.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody that's already had experience in a Star Wars universe. So he knows how to work that realm. Yeah, absolutely. And he's of course not going to be the only writer, but bringing in some talent like that was a good move. Good move by EA and Respawn, which I just said the name, and that may be a hindrance to what the game actually entails when you have EA, which has been striking out recently in other realms. Now, the way they've done Respawn, though, the way they've done Respawn is they let them make Apex Legends. So hopefully they'll keep their hands off and just let Respawn do their thing, and we could very well have a really awesome modern Star Wars game.
Let's hope that's what happens.
Let's cross fingers and pray to the gaming gods that is going to happen, because it is sorely desired by the fan base across the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
But on that note, I mean, he did drop a little tidbit on Twitter. He said, "Hey, be expecting something about Fallen Order in the next month." No clarification what that actually is going to be, but zero. But come this time in April, I'm going to be watching Twitter and seeing what's being said out there by him or by Respawn or anybody. Because right now we have no official trailers or pictures or anything. We don't have a release date for the game. It's just been talked about. Nobody said it's been pushed back or canceled or anything like that. Every time they say that, and it's like, nope, we're still working on it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there is some fan art out there, but that's about it. There's just speculation of what they think the game might be about.
Yeah.
So, yes, I am extremely excited for this game. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I've always loved the games. And I think this one has a lot of potential if done correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I cannot wait to. I hope it goes all the way to fruition, and it happens to be, it releases, and is actually a Star Wars RPG we can really grasp and get a hold of, because we've been wanting one since KOTOR.
Absolutely, and it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
Been a while.
But,
and you know what? If we were to stop the podcast right there, we would have a wonderful podcast.
We have a really good ending to the podcast right there.
We would. The ending that is coming up, a lot of people will not want to hear or listen to. But
it's one that I am reluctant to talk about, just because it's like, oh, really? Come on. You need to do better. Because I want them to do better.
They do need to do better, and a lot of our listeners probably know what we're getting ready to talk about. It's been out there for a couple of weeks on the social media pages, and this last little bit is around Anthem and just some of the controversy that has come up. And again, we're talking EA and Bioware. So
yeah, we're still on the EA topic. So still EA, now a different studio, one that actually produced we're talking KOTOR here, we're talking Mass Effect, we're talking Dragon Ages, BioWare.
Some amazing games have been produced from this studio.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's a lot of bad rap right now, especially over the last couple of weeks, for some of the things that have been going on in them. Yeah. Personally, I have really enjoyed the game. I've had a ton of fun hopping in and running the missions, playing. So again, you're on the PC side of the house. I'm on the console side of the house still right now. I will be switching to PC when I do end up getting the game. One really big thing that I noticed is the whole bugs. It is loaded with just some buggy things that maybe aren't huge problems, but there's just a lot of them in multiple different places that become nuisances.
Yeah, it's death by 1,000 cuts, really, in some of the bugs aspects. By themselves, they're pretty small, but you start adding them all up, and they get kind of annoying. Now, yes, they have addressed them very quickly. Like that day one, for one, they had the week early release, and then they had the day one patch, and they actually had, at the release of the game, the actual release that everybody didn't have early access to, fixed a lot, and they've been updating constantly since then. But a lot would argue, and it's a valid argument and needs to be said and needs to be done, is why even have those bugs in the first place? Come on. Like, really? Do you have any QA? You've had a lot of, betas or demos or VIPs, and for one, those should have happened earlier.
They should have, but they didn't.
They didn't. And so it didn't give them a lot of time. So I don't hold them to the fact that bugs that were pointed out in the VIPs that weren't immediately fixed. But yeah, there should have been some more QA. So there's been that PR system, and they've been trying to sell off Anthem as a game service, because they immediately released a roadmap that said, hey, here's all this content coming, et cetera, et cetera. And it's good. It's good that you have a roadmap. But
it is, but I think for the gamers who are playing right now, the roadmap doesn't mean anything to them right now because the bugs, the things that they're experiencing in the game are overshadowing the fact of what they could potentially get down the road. For instance, me and you have played quite a bit. We've definitely put some time into Anthem.
Yep.
And we've really gotten to the point in the game where we're at the true end game now.
Yep.
And like a lot of the in-game content for this, it's the grind of doing the repetitive things over and over. And we're back into the same boat of you get a lot of gamers who have got a lot of time to spend and put the hours into a game like this. So when you add a really buggy game, not massive problems, but like you said, death by 1,000 cuts, gamers who blow through the material left and right, and then they get to the end game really quick. They get burnt out because they're doing the end game content over and over and over. They finish the story, and it really does kind of take a hit to the studio. And that roadmap that came out looked fantastic. I do give props to Bioware because they did an amazing job on content they said they're going to be releasing.
All free.
Yeah, no. There's no DLC charges. But
I would argue that really, and this goes to some point that I heard from Drop Frames, Carnage called it out, is that a roadmap is basically a get out of jail free card for the developer of the game to say that, hey, these features aren't here yet, but they're coming.
Okay. Agreed.
What if Anthem would have been released with this next 6 months of roadmaps already in the game?
We would not be having the we wouldn't be having the crazy YouTube videos or Twitch talks about Anthem is a dead game, Anthem isn't worth buying. We wouldn't have those talks if that roadmap was already in the game.
Yeah, we would be complaining about if the load times were still there. The content, just how they built the game.
Right.
But we'd be talking about that. But if that was all you talking about, all right, you got a good game on your hands.
Absolutely. Not that we have a bad game. But personally, for me, we don't have a bad game. We have
not a bad game.
We have an unfinished game that again, okay, we're going back to EA. I'm not so much saying this about BioWare. I'm saying this about EA. EA does this all the time. When we originally saw the release of Anthem, we saw the release trailer. It looked dang good. I mean, the environments were interactive. They were huge. And one of the coolest parts about that release trailer was when you were in the city, the door opened up, you saw the market, you saw kind of an atmospheric look around you. The streets were busy in the city. And there was this scale that made it feel very homey and very welcoming and very large. And then when the game released, one of the first complaints that came out was the lack of detail, the lack of environment, the lack of busyness in the city. It was very quiet, and it just didn't look. It looked nowhere near what EA promised was coming out, and they do this on almost every game.
Yep. Yeah. The one game that I would say that actually matched their trailer in previous memory was the Battlefront games. I'm not talking about the gameplay or what they actually did in it, but the actual trailers to what the game looked like.
They do a good job with those. Yeah, they do a good job with those.
But to your point, what we saw in Anthem, trailer-wise, and to the actual release game did not help them. They should have just actually done a gameplay of it, showing you walking through and doing all this. But no, it was some kind of, it was pre-rendered, it was like a movie, okay? They did outside of whatever graphics they were going to use in the game. And then when you got to the game, you're like, this is not what I saw. What is going on here?
I mean, don't get me wrong. The environments in the game still look pretty good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
they look great.
It's a gorgeous game.
Yeah, absolutely. but it wasn't what was promised. It wasn't what we saw originally. What we saw originally was 1,000 times better than what we got.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that currently Anthem has going for it that are keeping people playing is, for one, if you're addicted as much as some people to the gameplay, because it is unique, it's fast paced, you're mobile, you're always moving around. They have that going for it, and the graphics.
Yeah.
But those can only carry so far, and with the bad PR the game's having, and the lack of end game content, they really need to revamp the loot system and the end game grind.
Mm-hmm.
It's not you can only play the same thing so much, even though the really awesome. You can only fight that same boss over and over and over so many times and not get, this goes to loot, rewarded for that time spent. So
yeah, and I mean it is a time spender for sure. You do have to put some hours in. I will say it's not the grindiest first person looter shooter out there by any means, but it still takes some time commitment if you actually want to get some of the top end gear. I think personally for me, the biggest complaint I have about the game is some of the story.
I agree.
That is where you lost some of my interest. The gameplay's fun. The squad mechanics could definitely use some work, but getting out with your team, communicating, playing, the environments are great. I love some of the weapons. The skills on all of the different javelins are very unique. They're fun to use. But I'm a story guy, and when we first started, it seemed a little bit. It was a struggle because it was this constant back and forth in this blasted city that you have to go back to. You have to go talk to these crazy NPCs. And granted, some of the dialogue with the NPCs was really done well. It was funny. It was dramatic. And then there were some that was just really off the wall odd.
Yeah.
But my biggest complaint with the freaking story is how it ended. It was so bad. I hated the end of the story. I don't know what they're planning on doing with the rest of the story. I mean, I know there's other things out there, but when you ended up finally getting a hold of the Monitor and beating him, spoiler alert, if you guys haven't made it to the end of the game, okay, you do end up kind of killing the Monitor. I don't know. It had a cutscene where he crawled behind a giant rock. You tried to follow him. It looked like he died, but I'm not sure if he died. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. So once that final cutscene happens, you talk to a few people, and then they just kind of vanish from the story, and end credits roll. And I'm like, are you kidding me? All this time we just finished the story, and now the end credits? What? What? All these questions, like all these people that I still need to go talk to, and what about this piece of the story, and well, what happened to this guy up over here, and well, what about Yarrow and all these people? If you don't know who Yarrow, he's a crazy Russian in the game. So yeah, I'm a story guy. Okay, I love stories, and when you end a story like that, man, I just want to grab something and punch it. It's bad, bad.
And this is before all the controversy that's been happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that people already have this taste of stuff, and then you have, for one, the bugs are already there. Then you have the two things that, what you called out. We're talking about two things. When what you called out exactly. People already have this bad taste, even with some of the good things that takes place, and they're like, a lot of people were on the teetering point, like myself. I was holding on there, right? And the more more I get into it, like, yeah, I don't know if I'll keep playing this, and this might very well be the last time we talk about Anthem for a while.
It could be
on the podcast, depending on how they pull off. But the two controversies that we're about to talk about did not help Bioware and EA's image. First one we're going to talk about is the banning of streamers. Like,
yeah, so I've got a big problem with this. Now, granted, I know that EA has some stuff in their like, hey, we've got this listed as a violation. It is not that streamer's fault that you guys program something badly into your game and someone found out about it and they went and found some way in the game that is a grinding route. Like
Yep.
any other first person shooter out there, hey, this boss drops a specific weapon. Hey, this area you can get these types of materials. Guess what? Every other first person freaking looter shooter out there RPG game, you go out and you grind for that loot. And here we are with a streamer doing the same thing. And EA goes, you can no longer play the game.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Really? You're now penalizing a player for playing your game, and because you and your programmers programmed it in a way that it drops at a higher rate than what it originally should have, you're penalizing the player and not allowing him to play a game that he just spent $60 on. So not only are you penalizing him, you banned him from a game, you just stole $60 from a player that said, hey, I want to play your game. And he's giving you free PR through a stream? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, free advertisement. Yep. And that's where it does not play well for EA and Bioware. They labeled it off as manipulating of the in-game economy. Well,
whatever. That's not manipulation.
It would, you can do things in game that would affect maybe if there was a PvP, kind of economy in there where you could actually profit from it, but it purely just affects
only
PvE only, and it only affects your gameplay. Right. So that's been the big argument there. Valid argument.
It is a valid argument. Really, it is.
Now, go ahead.
Truly, the only person that doing these types of things hurt is the player that's doing it. Yeah. That's it.
Or if it's some type of trolley thing where somehow you're affecting other people, yeah, sure. But what was happening now, that is like they went way over. There's no warnings. There was just banned. And not just like temp ban. There was perma banned.
It was a permanent ban for
in the beginning.
Yeah.
In the beginning. Now, they, contacted EA, they reviewed it, and they gave back some not really apologetic. They said, hey, you violated our term of service, you did this, and you were banned, but you know what? We'll let you back after 2 weeks. Really? Really, EA? You're going to say that? And you know what? That streamer's no longer playing that game right now.
Oh, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't put my time into a game, some nonsense like that.
Yeah. There's been a couple of people like that. They're like, I got banned again at Anthem, or got banned by this, and they're talking about it, and people are seeing, they're like, I don't want to support this game anymore, or play this game anymore, or talk about it, etc. They're moving on. So yeah, they needed to not have that happen, or come out and say, "Yep, our bad. All right, we're gonna relook at that." Really, like, talk it down, or do some PR to address it. Not the kind of stood up, snotty attitude they've taken so far.
Well, and this is
quiet. They've been absolutely quiet in regards to like the Twitterverse talking about it.
Yeah.
Besides saying that they can't talk about it. So yeah.
Well, and personally, I don't think that culture comes from BioWare. That culture comes from
that was EA. 100%
EA
right there.
100% EA. They have been like that for a lot of years over multiple different games. We've seen it with a lot of other games out there. They have this elitist mentality. They just own everything and they do whatever they want, and it's fine. And I don't know. I'm not a big EA fan. I never have been. I don't think I ever will be. Yeah. They just kind of suck as a gaming producer.
Yeah, and they're not looking too good right now. So there was that didn't do good PR. And then there was the story that Anthem was bricking PS4s. So that definitely did not help. Yeah, did not help that was being said. Spread like wildfire. Like, what? I'm not going to play Anthem anymore on my PS4. What's going on?
Right.
And, before people could actually get facts, the internet what the internet does, it just immediately spread that stop playing Anthem, it's going to break your PS4, you won't be able to turn it on, etc., etc. Bring out the facts though, it was because Anthem ran the system so hard, it caused a known defect of PS4s where they didn't like a removal of power, and then you couldn't actually start it back up with your controller. You actually had to go physically hit the button. That was the whole idea. That was the whole facts to the situation. That's what was causing it. Not that just Anthem was bricking things. They don't actually know of any factual system that was causing PS4s to brick. That's facts. But everybody took off with it. Everybody did. And it did not help that was happening.
The internet does what it does best. It breaks things.
Yeah, it took it and ran with, first it was Anthem will break your console. Then it was Anthem will break your PS4. And, it was PS4 stuff. No, first it was Anthem will break your PS4. Then somebody said, oh, my Xbox did the same thing. Never actually could prove that. And so for a while there, it was Anthem breaks consoles. And then they reduced down and the facts started coming out. But that was a good week's time, I think, before they could get rid of that PR in there. That's not helping where the state of Anthem is. Now, there's some good guys on Twitter that they're talking about things. They're trying to, keep the momentum going and talk about the roadmaps and how they're addressing stuff. There are good community managers currently talking on Twitter.
I think they're trying to do the right thing. I think Bioware is trying to do the right thing, no matter what EA is doing.
Yeah.
And I think Bioware has truly helped make a really good game. Unfortunately, there's been some, like we said, bad PR, a little bit of a bad launch, definitely some bugs to fix, and we have an instance that happened a few years back with EA and a game that I so desperately wanted to like and didn't, and still don't, and won't ever go back and finish the story even after the updates.
You should. I know which one you're talking about.
I know I should, but I have such a bitter hate for how that game turned out.
He's talking about Andromeda.
Andromeda, yes. Mass Effect Andromeda is one of my favorite story games of all time. I love the Mass Effect series, and EA Andromeda, and we've already talked about this. We won't talk about that piece of it really a whole lot, but I think there's some true concern with the community right now that EA could pull another Andromeda and pull that support from the game because Anthem isn't doing as good as what they predicted it was supposed to.
Yeah.
That truly is a real thing. EA has done this in the past. They're not saying that they will do it, but if Anthem doesn't improve and they don't start seeing the numbers, financial numbers, gaming numbers, people start playing and they start having some better PR, EA could likely pull this game and the support from it, and we could have a flop.
Yep. We could have another Andromeda where they, at the end of it, they definitely get big hints to DLC. They were talking about DLC and just like chopping board gone.
Yeah. Andromeda was one and done. They had huge plans for it, and it was a massive flop.
Yeah.
So I really hope that Anthem does come around. The roadmap that they gave, though I do agree that it's kind of a cop-out, and I think they probably don't have a lot of that done. Show looked very promising, and I would love to be able to play that and get more story and more game because I love the whole idea of a PvE-only, squad-based, first-person looter shooter. It's an amazing idea. Great environments, a lot of fun with the javelins. It is getting a little boring now. Same thing over and over, and we're not seeing any new NPC dialogue come in. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and Anthem's getting some competition starting tomorrow with
Correct.
the Division 2.
Yep.
And so far, that is looking like a really polished, really, it's the next iteration, and they've improved on every aspect of Division 1. It sounds like.
Hopefully they have.
Yeah, it's what I'm hearing. What I'm seeing across the streamers are loving it. I haven't quite seen the reports on what the end game looks like, but they said to get there, it's been a lot of fun. The gameplay, the loot, the loot drops, etc. There's a lot of them. You keep going up, but there's exact players like, why can't I just have this good a polish, but in Anthem?
Yeah.
And I can have the graphics and the gameplay that isn't in there. Like there was people like saying, I would beg for this to happen, because there's not a lot of people that, there are a group of people out there that don't like this third person cover shooter, looter shooter. Like you had in Gears of War and like you have in Division 2. Gears of War not being looter shooter, but cover based combat system. That's kind of, you get to a spot, you fight it out, and if you have to move, you got to move, then you get to another cover. But they're like, just let's get that over in Anthem. Like they love the gameplay and the graphics that much. They're just like, just come on, why couldn't we have this? With that said, I don't see any of those being changed coming in the next 3 months.
I don't either.
Months. They'll have some more end game, at least according to the roadmap.
According to the roadmap, we've got other strongholds and other things coming.
Yeah,
but it's not a lot of detail.
Not a lot of detail. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be enough to pull them back up.
I don't either. I think
past some of these other games.
I think they're
Division
probably
2 being the most prominent one.
And Division 2 is going to get a lot of action because of the people that have played Anthem that so wanted to play it and are already at the end game. They're burnt. They don't want to play it anymore. They want something new and fresh. And Division 2, I think, is going to give them that. So no, I don't think Anthem has a good road ahead of them to recover. I really don't.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the future does not look bright.
It does not.
For Anthem. So we'll see.
Yeah. Could be a sad day come soon for Anthem.
Yes. Could be. And we may have a kind of Division 1 rebirth come a year from now.
What Division 1 should have been, but wasn't when it was launched.
Yeah, unfortunately, I hope for the sake of Anthem that there is a rebirth where they come out and they're like, hey, here's all this stuff. This new thing was updated, and everybody was like, oh wow, this is so awesome, and actually bring people back.
Could be.
Roadmap doesn't show that though.
The roadmap does not show that. We will see. We will see how EA and Bioware does things for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it is time to wrap this episode up, guys. As much as I would love to sit around and chat some more, we kind of ended that on a depressing note. You know it?
A little bit.
A little bit.
We can just talk about we can think about the Pokemon movie and
we'll think about
Star Wars.
Think about Pokemon and Star Wars, and we'll just say we ended the podcast with the Star Wars and Pokemon talk. Forget Sonic.
There we go.
Forget Anthem. Just ixnay on that. Yeah. So that's where we're going to end the episode tonight, guys. And we just want to say thank you once again. You guys have been wondering where this next episode is because of those technical difficulties we had. We do apologize, and we will be back on our regular schedule come this Monday. This episode will be out. So thank you so much for dropping in and listening. We absolutely love the support you guys are giving us. And you guys just keep on, and we will continue putting that content out.
Absolutely. Enjoy making this content. We're just a couple of geeks that like talking about games, movies, any type of nerd stuff, and we greatly appreciate you guys showing your support, tuning in to listen, commenting, just showing it all the support. And if you guys did enjoy this episode, You guys can be sure to subscribe to the show and drop us a review on iTunes or Spotify or any of your favorite podcasting apps. You can also connect us over on Twitter, Instagram, or our website at allthingsgeekery.com. And those links will be in the notes below.
And I got to do it one more time. Pika! Sorry,
He did
I had to do it. I had to do it. All right, guys. If you have any specific topics for the show that you would like us to cover, email those to us over at podcastatg@gmail.com. Or, as Victor said, send us a note over on Twitter, DM us, whatever it is. If you want us to cover something, let us know, and we will make sure that we give you guys a shout out in the show. But guys, that wraps up this podcast. Thanks for joining in. And as always, you guys stay awesome, and we will see you all in the next episode.